they've committed a crime, one assumes, or at least they've gotten arrested for a crime, and they appear. So who gets in? It depends upon the criteria of the local court, and that is developed with the prosecution, the defense, the community, the police. Everybody agrees on what the criteria should be. It is also based upon people's level of addiction. If they're not having trouble staying clean and sober, if they're just using because they want to and they don't give a rip, then I don't need them in court, and they're not going to do well in treatment because they don't need treatment. They need a different kind of behavioral therapy to address their antisocial indices, I suppose you'd say. So a screening is done to see if indeed there's a problem. If there is a problem, then an instrument that's been validated scientifically is applied, and a treatment plan is developed, and it's individual for each person. So then the court would order the treatment plan. They would order an orientation where the person was made aware of all the requirements of the court. They will have had a chance to talk to counsel and have their attorney explain what their options are, because, of course, right to an attorney and right to make an informed decision is very important. Remember, that's the TJ part, where you don't do something that violates another closely held right. So with counsel and with their understanding of the program, they decide to come in. And at first, it's very, very tight. The court appearances are weekly, then every 2 weeks in Stage 2, once a month in Stage 3. And then graduation, they submit a plan, aftercare plan, to the court for verification. So they would be sent to the appropriate level of treatment and intervention. That would be based on neutral and verified placement criteria. Just because somebody's homeless does not mean they need a live-in program. They may need a place to live and they may need a program, but it may not be a live-in program. That kind of mistake is made frequently. So it's based upon what's the level of addiction, how well can they do in the community. And you're always looking for the least restrictive alternative for placement. Then the rest of it is following the plan. As they develop their own internal control, the control of the court loosens up. That's why it's only once a month. They're drug tested frequently, randomly, and observed. If you don't have observed drug tests, you might as well not even do them. You're wasting your time, because they are very clever. If you Google drug test or urine test on Google, you will get millions of hits on you can buy this product, you can do this. One of my favorite was a thing called the Whizzinator. Anybody ever hear of that? Yeah. Now, it's a prosthetic penis, and you wrap it around your own, so it's not good for women. And then with an observed drug test, it's supposed to, fool the person who's looking. And we found out about this when a guy's penis fell in the toilet one time. It was either a very, very weird STD or something else was going on. So it has to be random, observed, verifiable tests. You have to be able to test those tests. Trust those tests. My favorite website on urine test is called Urine Luck. Very clever. They have to do individual counseling if their plan calls for that. They have to do 12-step meetings if their plan calls for that. They have to start job seeking if they're not employed. They have to look at what kind of skills they have. They can do job development, English as a second language, all kinds of things like that. So it's wraparound services, because it's not just the person's use that's the problem. The person's use is causing all kinds of problems. It's also causal of all kinds of problems, the reason they got it. There may be an undiagnosed mental health problem. I'll never forget, I had 3 guys with diagnosed schizophrenia in the program. They all graduated. 2 is still doing well, 1 is not. And the 3rd guy came to my attention because he came in, and I said, well, so how was your week? He had been sober about 90 days at that point. He says, well, fine, except for these voices that are driving me crazy. And I looked at the treatment provider, and she's going, and I said, what voices would there be? And we talked, and it turns out what he started using to make the voices be quiet. And when he got sober, he could hear the voices again. So we got him into treatment. with a good psychiatrist. We got him on all the programs for which he was eligible, medication, everything he needed, and he did very, very well. So if people aren't doing well, that's the first thing you look for is an undiagnosed mental health issue. It used to drive me crazy when I would call up mental health and ask them for a placement, and they'd say, well, but they have to be sober for 90 days first. I'd say if they could stay sober for 90 days, they wouldn't need you. So now our policy in the United States is no wrong door. Whatever door somebody comes in, whichever issue it is, they're not turned away. We're moving towards integrated treatment. So if they have a problem, if they aren't going to treatment, if they have a use episode, and they disclose that they are going to test positive, it's one type of sanction. If they don't disclose, it's a different type of sanction. One of the things that makes it work is the thing that always makes behavioral change work, which is sure, certain, and swift consequences. And they're all understood ahead of time. They're talked about in the team. So by the time you go into court, everybody knows what's going on. You know somebody's doing really well when they come in and say, I tested positive. I told my counselor before I tested I was going to. This is what happened. This is what I should have done. This is why I didn't do it. This is what I'll do next time. And I'd like to do 90 meetings in 90 days and up testing to 3 times a week to help me stay sober. And I'd say, terrific, so ordered. That was the end of that. I mean, that's pretty darn sophisticated. You know, that's really moving things nicely in the right direction. Because they know most of all what they need to maintain their sobriety. And so the drug testing was never to catch them using. I would say, I'm not your mother and I don't love you. You know, I just want to know if the treatment plan's working. And if you're still using, it means that it's not working. We have to figure out what's going on here. So it was never a shame-blame kind of thing. That's not useful in behavioral change. It was, there will be consequences for your actions, positive or negative. No, we'd have prizes. The Sheriff's Association always gave me Oakland A's tickets, you know, the baseball team Oakland A's. They would provide security for the A's, and they would give them free tickets, and they'd give them to me to give to the participants. And I'd say, this is from the Sheriff's Association, because they're proud of what you're doing, and they know how hard it is, and they're supporting your sobriety. That's why I had the arresting officer come and give them their diploma. For 2 reasons. One, so they could thank the officer for saving their life, which to a person they did. I never suggested they do that, but to a person they did that. And second of all, so the officer could see that people could change. You know, sometimes they'd come in and I'd say, do you remember this person? They'd look, say, yeah, but she's not here. Yeah, she is. No, she's not here. And the person would stand up and their jaw would drop because they physically had changed so much over the course of time that it took to graduation. So I wanted the police to know that recovery was possible too. So that's why I did that. So I don't remember what the question was, but that's my answer.